Hello and welcome to BeamNG Drive. I'm davidinark. Thanks for joining us today. I am working with HighDef, and we're going to be looking at how you take an existing scenario, modify it in order to create a new scenario. So check this out, and thanks for joining us.
Okay, so probably the easiest way to go about it is to just make another East Coast USA chase.
Okay,
Make
that
it
sounds
East
good.
Coast USA Chase 5 or something.
Okay.
It will show you how you access them, how you modify them, how you save them, and how you bear them.
Okay.
Right, so East Coast USA Chase 5. I think it's 5. I think there's only 4 so far. If we close BeamNG and bring up the BeamNG game directory
Okay.
and go to content.
All right.
Now, anything in the game, as we know, we can find in here. So any scenario, you can look at the code and have a like, a look over how it seems to work, sort of thing. So we can have a look at that now. So if we go to levels, right, yeah. So if we go to East Coast USA,
Okay.
and then levels and
East
in there,
Coast. Okay.
and then under scenarios folder, we should find a bunch of files. Now, each scenario is made up of at least 2 files, which should be a prefab and a JSON.
Okay.
Prefab is a list of everything that should be present, so all the cars, objects, barriers, what have you, waypoints. And the JSON is what happens. So basically, it's just like a register, roll call, and someone telling it what to do.
Okay.
So the way it's named is basically the way they're associated. So any file with your scenario, you just name it the same thing. So name it the name of the scenario.
Okay. That makes sense.
Same. You don't have to name it all the same, but you'd have to change the name associations to what it looks at. But I find it's a lot better to work that way.
Sure.
So if we find East Coast Chase 4, for instance,
Okay.
you'll see there's 3 files there.
Yes.
There's a JPEG, which is the thumbnail.
Okay.
There's JSON, which is telling it what happens, telling it that it's a chase, that there's an AI, what the AI behaves like, and how you win or lose. And then there's the HTML, which is a it's basically a text file. I don't know why it always wants to. I mean, it always wants to open with a website because with a web browser because it's a HTML file, but that's just the way BeamNG reads it. All it is a text file. So you'd want to open that with Notepad++. So if you do that now, you'll see do a right click and edit with Notepad.
I don't think it'll let me because it's still in the zip file.
Oh yeah, of course it is. Yeah. So let's extract those 3.
Okay. So we're going to I have no idea what
Select all 3.
Okay. So I'm going to select all 3 of those, and then I'm going to copy those. And for this, does it matter where I put these?
Well, let's put them in a proper place.
Okay.
So let's go to the BeamNG Drive Documents folder, and then under Levels, make a folder called East_Coast_USA.
Just in Levels? Okay.
Yeah, just in there, yeah. So this is how I explained in the earlier episode. Anything you put now into this folder, when it loads East Coast USA, it will add this in as well.
Yes, I do remember.
It will add this in on top of anything. So right now we're putting in East Coast Chase 4. So if we edit these files from that point onwards, if we load the game, if you loaded East Coast Chase 4, it would have all of our modifications. It would not be stock.
Okay. So
until you got rid of these or changed the name of these.
So inside the East Coast USA folder, though, I need to create another new folder called Scenarios, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Oops.
So we need to match the file structure of the content folder.
Right.
Where we just were.
Okay, so then in Scenarios, now this is where I can paste those 3 files that I just copied.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Right, so at this point we want to change the name to East Coast Chase 5.
So there are multiple ways to do that. I'm just going to do it the old-fashioned way, where I click once, wait a second, click again, and then change.
That's the way I always do it too. It's the
That's...
quick way.
So again, we're changing our 4s to 5s. Okay, now we have 3 5s.
So we're still missing one file. And for some reason, in some levels, they put them in different places. The prefab file, which again is the list of everything that needs to be present. So if we go back to the content folder, so I missed that.
That's okay. That's okay.
So I think it should be just in the level folder of East Coast. Yeah, I think that's where they put them before. Yeah, there it is. So East Coast Chase 4 prefab. So if you copy that and put it in as well.
Oh, I'm actually looking at it without realizing. Okay, so just in the East Coast folder, there's this prefab. So again, I'm going to copy, and then we're going to go back to my BeamNG levels, East Coast USA. Now that just goes in the main East Coast folder, right?
No, in that. Right, with prefabs, they can go anywhere within your level. You can put them in the scenarios folder out of it. You can put it in another folder within the scenarios folder called prefabs. I mean, I've seen people do it anyway. When it reads the level folder, it reads all the files, and in the JSON file, in the JSON file, there's a entry which asks you which prefab, or you state what prefab, and it will you just say what prefab, and it will load that file from your level. I mean, it can be anywhere. You don't have to even tell it exactly where it is.
Okay.
If you go into the JSON file now, I can show you that.
All right. So before I do that, just real quick, while we were talking, I changed the Chase 4 to Chase 5. Just once again, make sure these are all 5s for our example. All right. So now I'm going to open up the... Go ahead.
You name it all to the same name of your scenario, just so they're all associated together as they load.
All right, so I'm going to open up the JSON file with Notepad++. All right.
Right, from here, you'll see the name and description have that Cody sort of entry. So we just want to make that say East Coast Chase 5.
Right.
Without any underscores, because there isn't actually an official East Coast Chase 5. There's no like core content for that to load. I mean, that's a code, I believe, with the dots in it. I think that's actually summoning stuff on the core engine of something. I'm not sure. That's not mod code. That's dev code.
Okay, so in the name and description, just change it to Chase 5 with no spaces there, right?
Yeah.
Oops.
I mean, you could if you wrote it in normal English, East Coast Chase 5, it would display the same as the rest of them that way.
Sure. Okay.
Do it properly.
So, do I have to change? Do I need to do a complete replace of Chase_4 to Chase 5?
Yeah, that would be. I mean, no, all of those lines are that code that we need to just delete anyway. I mean, those entries are messages that are supposed to come up when you fail or lost. So all we need to do is, I was just going to show where it's associating the prefab. So if we delete the name and change that to, well, I mean, it doesn't actually matter. Yeah, change the 4s to 5s, then it will stop associating itself with core code, and it will just say that line. We don't need it to actually say anything informative because we're just doing an example.
Okay.
So,
which I could use the global like file and replace, but there's only like a handful of lines, so I'm just going to do it.
I mean, you wouldn't want it to say this anyway. I mean, you just want it to say anything other than its actual associated code. I mean, probably get rid of the dot message on the end in case it gets confused. It's like, oh, there's no file called that. See where it says .msg at the end, because that's summoning files from the code.
Okay, so so would it be better just to delete all of this?
No, because we need this in there for it to actually run.
Okay, so I'm deleting. Whoa, I did not mean to do that. So I'm deleting the .msg at the end of all.
Oh yeah, if you do that and it looks like it's selected everything, it won't. It will select all of that if you press another button.
Oh, okay.
I'm not quite sure what that button is.
I
get that sometimes like, oh no, I don't want to select everything.
I want to select everything, man. Okay.
Yeah, it's just showing you what you would select if you press that further button. So yeah, I mean, that doesn't matter for now. I mean, my example of showing prefab, I mean, you can put the line in that says use this prefab, but I think it will use the same name that it is called by default. So for now, that looks okay. So we want it to still behave the same way as it does. We want it to just be another example of East Coast Chase. So we just change the cars and move them and set you up in a different sort of place.
Okay.
So we can save that.
All right.
And then go into the prefab file, which you also would edit with Notepad++.
There we go. Okay.
So here we have every item. Now you have to get used to looking at this because this is all about scenarios.
All right.
I mean, this now is showing where it says new BeamNG anything. It's or new. I think it's slightly different for objects, but each of those is an entry of an object that you've put in. It's telling it the name, it's telling it the position and rotation and any other jargon it might need to know.
Okay.
So, but it will have a default figure for everything if you don't give it the line to specify it. So if you didn't give it a color, then it would just default as white. And if the config of the car had a default color, it would use that. But if you put in the line color, well, like it has for that first BeamNG vehicle there, speeder, it says color, and then it would overwrite whatever default color the car comes with the color you've specified. So you can
that's
have
cool.
color for the scenario sort of thing.
Okay.
But if you don't have the line there, it would use the default. So you can specify something if you want to.
Okay.
So, for instance, the part config would be where it says J-beam, the second line is saying what vehicle, basically, which J-beam are you going to use? Is it going to be a Barstow or a lorry or a box? And the part config line would then specify which configuration, which file to load from. If you didn't have the part config, it would just load the default part configuration, which in some cases you would want, like rocks or trailer or something.
Okay.
You don't need to bother putting that in for that instance. You've got your position, rotation, scale, and whether it's AI control. I don't think that actually works anymore. I don't think you need that anymore. So this is a great way to delete stuff from your level without having to even load the game. And it's also a great way to copy stuff so that when you load the level next, there'll be a mass of them and you can just put them in position. So you can start with one waypoint and you could just copy the text and then paste a huge row of them. Then when you load the level, there'll be all those waypoints already there on top of each other. Just for instance, it's not a particularly helpful example, but you can manipulate the scenario without even loading the game, basically.
Oh, okay.
So what we'll do now is we'll load the game and we'll load our scenario.
Okay, so we're not.
Go on.
So we're not actually changing anything in this prefab. We were just kind of looking at it.
Let's change the speeder. So let's make the speeder a Barstow. So yeah, if you're unsure about the J-beam name, because not all the cars are named as they are. So the Corvette is a hatch, and the Grand Marshal is full size, and the Pessima, the 90s Pessima, is mid size. Like not all of the, and the truck's semi, and you wouldn't know them if you didn't know them from back in the day, sort of thing, as they were associated originally. I mean, they all had their names anyway, but they were called hatch and things like that more commonly. So if you bring up the BeamNG content folder and look in vehicles, you can see all of the folders that make up the cars, and they're all named as you would name them in the prefab. Obviously, if you're a bit unsure, you can open the vehicle folder and look at the preview picture to remind you which one it is.
Okay. So yeah, so if I wanted the, like you said, if I wanted the ETKI, then it, I can look here and see that it is ETKI, all one word, no hyphens, no anything else, or
what if you wanted the 200BX, which, funnily enough, is that one.
Oh, is that what that is? I was like, I have no idea what the coupe is, but okay, so I guess it's that one. Like, so for example, like I have drive van, right? So if I go into drive van vehicles, drive van, I'm going to do by type. So I have these different, I have cola, so if I wanted the Cola dry van trailer, then in here, is that where this part config comes in, or no?
So right, so yeah, you would put in dry van for the JBeam because that's the vehicle folder,
Right.
and then for the part configuration, you'd put in where it's got the file directory. You'd put in vehicles, dry van, and then Cola PC.
Oh, wait.
You put dry van under JBeam because that's
Sorry.
the vehicle
Right.
group.
And then here I would do Cola. So if we wanted to spawn that trailer, the JBeam is called dry van, and then the specific config for the Cola one is /Cola. So, okay, cool.
That's it. And we can adjust position and rotation in game, so we don't have to worrying about that.
Okay, so for the sake of argument, what was I doing? Barstow? Okay. All right, so with Barstow, though, I'm just going to use the default config, so...
Yep, so delete the whole line.
Just delete that line. Okay. Oops, that's interesting.
Yeah, make sure you keep everything in line.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right, we'll save that.
So, we might as well leave our scenario car as the Grand Marshal police car. You could, again, change that to whatever you want in exactly the same way as we just did with the speeder vehicle.
Okay. All right, so I saved that after we swapped out a car, and I can... Do I close this?
Yep, close that down, and then load BeamNG, and we should be able to find our scenario under the scenarios menu.
Scenario, and we should have police chase 5 somewhere in here. I should have not. Oh, here.
East Coast.
East Coast, yeah. So that's this one.
There he is.
Because we changed this to the 5.title, so...
Yeah, disassociated it from being legitimate code.
Right, exactly. Okay, so now what do I do with this? Do I play it?
Open it. Let's load it, yeah.
Okay.
So whenever you load anything and modify stuff, the way it saves is entirely different from... well, it's sort of different from how you would normally save, so it will extract just what's in your scenario into a new prefab file.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, it's a little bit finicky, this process, but it's just a process, and once you do it a few times, it's just easy. It's just one of those processes. It's only a few clicks. We just have to remember one thing, and I'll show you that. It's I'm not sure or certain that it's still a bug, but in the tutorial about making scenarios that Nadox1 put up on the content creation forum about a year ago, I think, the one I followed to understand this. It explains that there's a bug. If you don't do a certain thing, it won't save anything in the positions you put them in. It just sends them all doolally. It's only one click. You just have to remember to click this one thing and it's fine.
Oh, okay.
So, right, so we've loaded in basically East Coast Chase 4 because we've just cloned it.
Right.
And just disassociated it from itself. So it's an independent scenario. So what we want to do now is modify it so that we start somewhere else and we have a different message and our waypoint's in a different place.
Okay, so real quickly, I'm going to free cam and jump over to where the vehicle, the original van was, so that you can actually see it's not a van anymore. It's the Barstow we put in place. So I just wanted to do that just so I could show folks.
Default config.
All right, so okay, we're good. Next. Sorry.
Right. Sorry, I was just having a drink. Right. Okay, so if we bring up the editor, I'll pause and then bring up the editor. You can do this at any point in a scenario. Don't worry about it going, oh, I don't know what's going on. You haven't clicked start yet. Yeah, let's buzz off somewhere and find another position for us to start in. So yeah, just it'll do.
Okay.
So if you zoom out, go up in the sky a little bit, looking down on this spot. Just basically, because we want to move the objects that are already there. The optimal way I find to move them is to look, so you have the spot you want to move in and the spot you're moving from in the same shot. So you can just then go. Right.
Yeah. I'm not sure that's gonna. Okay. Sorta.
Okay. So if we bring up the mission group, because we've loaded the scenario, the mission group will include the package folder, the prefab. And so it'll be right at the bottom. If you want to bring it up really quickly, which you can't do now because we've moved away, if you click on any object which is already in the prefab, it will select the prefab folder in the list here. You'll find it under scenario objects map or whatever that folder at the bottom says. Oh,
Okay.
group. Couldn't see it properly. So yeah, the East Coast Chase 5 with a box.
Okay.
That is our prefab. At the moment it's packaged, so nothing can be modified.
Okay.
You want to right click and unpack the package.
Okay. So we're gonna
prefab.
unpack prefab. Excuse me.
Now this is the point we have to remember. See on the third row down it says prefab file name with the red dots there. Just below in the properties.
Yes. Yep. Okay.
That there. Click the no entry sign, or it's actually minus in it. Delete. Yeah.
Okay.
Now that is what you have to do. As far as I know, the bug is still in existence. I haven't actually tested it, but if you get rid of that, that deletes that line from the prefab. That line is bugged, and that's what causes all your objects to not save in the same place as you just spent an hour putting them in.
Oh,
my
okay.
God, that was so annoying before I realised that. Yeah, I read that and that Nadox put up, and I was like, oh, I see. So yeah, just do it. Always do it. That is, you unpack and then you get rid of that. That's the only finicky bit, really.
Okay.
So from there, we can now drop down the list of our prefab, and now that shows everything that's currently in the text that we were just playing with. So we've got us, the escape AI, and the 2 waypoints. The way that these scenarios work, well, at least then when they made this, is you have one waypoint showing you the initial direction, and then the other waypoint is inaccessible. It's under the floor sort of thing. It's just what keeps it going and stops it ending before any of the other conditions, like he's stopped moving anymore or you've got too much damage.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
you actually, even though it says you've passed waypoint 1 of 2, you actually can never find waypoint 2.
Yeah, that's how all mine work as well. But basically, because they're the clones of these.
Sure. Okay.
So if we should move each car over one by one.
Okay, so I have the player selected, and then I should be able to grab. Well, I was hoping to just grab the. I just want this.
Just about grab the bottom plane.
Nope, that ain't it.
So you have to zoom up a little bit more. Or move up, I mean.
Ah, that's what I'm looking for. It will not.
Just use the bottom 2-axis plane. It's a lot easier to click. So it's the.
Oh yeah.
That one, yeah.
Thank you.
I always use those.
Oh, I forgot you can click in the little square and call it good.
Oh, it's a good little moving tool.
All right, and then we don't want to be facing that way, so we want to spin ourselves around, right? And then we have to. Okay, yeah, and we will spawn just a hair above the ground, right? That's normal for scenarios, yeah.
I mean, it's probably best to get just slightly into the floor because it'll just push you out. I've found I used to do it a lot. I used to have it floating, but I wouldn't quite realise sometimes how much they were floating. So you'd start with damage, you just drop it on the floor, and you start the scenario with like messed up suspension.
Good point. Okay, so something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
And then I'm wanting to move my other vehicle too, just for the sake of
yeah. I mean, this is all down to preference how you'd want it set out. But
okay, so if I did speeder, so just for the sake of argument, I say we just move the speeder over here, and that's fine. And I'm just gonna whip him around this way. And again, he's a little high, so let's. All right, let me zoom in.
Might want to move in for that, yeah.
You're like, there's no way you can see where he is, man.
There we go, perfect.
All right, so that works. Okay, now, obviously, we don't want that checkpoint way out over there because that could be useless.
I'd stick him between the two of you.
Okay. So, oh, I lost.
Stick it
I, I
between the
lost.
two of you.
I lost my cop. So okay. So this is waypoint 1. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh nope, that ain't what I want.
Yeah, it's yeah. It won't move the red as well. That was right.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the red will just stay there because the game's paused, and
Oh,
the
okay.
game won't be able to reattach itself to the scenario now without reloading it.
Oh, okay.
But we're saving
So
the prefab. That's all we're after, is to modify the file, and it will just make a new file for you.
okay. So what is the like I've known like a lot of these. I mean, I guess they're waypoints. I don't know. I don't know what all these little balls are. Are these
Yeah, they
waypoints?
are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they need to be kind of halfway through the ground. Is that
Yeah, I would. The optimal position, in my opinion, is literally half point. You can use that grid
right?
that's flat
That's yeah.
plane, put it so it's half covered. So across the middle there, you'd find, because it's going down a hill. Yeah, that's about perfect. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I
Sure.
find if they're a bit too high, sometimes you can miss them from the outside, and it can be really annoying.
Yes. Tell me about it. Yeah. The other issue I have is when they're so narrow you can't hit them.
Yeah.
That's one of my big that's one of my pet peeves. But now so speaking of that though, is the size of the ball, is that determine how wide the
Yes.
checkpoint is?
Yeah, it
Okay.
is. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I now know that if I grab a scenario from say the repository and the checkpoint, the waypoint is too skinny for my liking, I can jump in here, change unpack everything, change the scale and call it good, right?
Mm-hmm. Just don't
Awesome.
re-upload it without permission, guys.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point. And I actually wouldn't end up re-uploading it. I would just that would be for my personal use. But very good point. Very good point. Don't upload anything that you've changed of someone else's without getting permission from the original creator of the mod. I don't mean like the original creator. I mean, although I guess
Yeah, it's a difference.
you could get his permission too if you wanted, I suppose.
Difference between learning
Okay.
from someone and basically copying somebody.
Okay, so
This looks good to go.
all right, I would agree. So what do I need to do
So
at this
we need
point?
to repack it. So if you
Okay.
right click on the prefab folder, yeah, that's it, and then double check that you've deleted the file name tag there. Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously we know we have, but I always double check.
Sure.
And
Sure.
then pack prefab.
Okay. Well, so we'll pack it back up.
That's it.
Oh.
Now this is a little bit grey area. I mean, you can tell it where you want it to just to give it the right name. So if you go into your scenario, where are we?
Well, it's actually trying to put it in my davidinark because. Well,
Oh yeah, because we're not using that level. Yeah. So if we go to levels
so levels.
and then go to the East Coast
East
USA, I got
Coast. There we
confused.
go. Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
I don't
And
know
then
why. So now you'll click that, and actually, in this instance, it will work. So anything in the levels folder, it will directly save over that.
okay.
If this was saved in the mods folder and you were working from the unpacked folder in mods, it would still save it into the documents folder in its own file, and it won't overwrite the actual file you're telling it to.
Oh, okay.
You will have to then manually go into the documents folder, and it'll be in the folder, in a folder named the same as your mod. You'd go into that all the way in, and then you find it there and have to copy that from there and put it into your mod folder. But because we're working from the levels folder, it will actually directly save. It's
Okay.
another little gripe about working with scenarios. I mean, it's probably good because you're not overwriting work potentially. A bit like the terrain. It's just another step you have to do. But it's no big deal.
All right. So we'll just save over top of this.
Yep. In
Yes.
this instance, it will just directly save over. So now if you close BeamNG, just give it the X and then reload it. Oh yeah, it takes a few seconds. Once the folder says prefab that used to say East Coast Chase 5, then it's finished. So now if we reload the game.
Okay. I probably should have made sure of that.
I mean, it won't let you quit. It won't quit until it's finished.
Oh, okay.
But if you're
Good.
clicking quit and wondering what the hell's happening, it means it hasn't finished packing.
Which is kind of where I was. All right. So we have our East Coast Chase 5, and we tell it to play. There we go.
Okay. So click start, just make sure it runs.
Let's do this. Alright, so now I'm chasing a Barstow.
Yeah, that code's still showing up.
Yeah, I saw that.
Obviously, you can change that entry to say whatever you want it to say.
Sure. Okay, and we don't have to finish this by any stretch. I'm just,
But we can see it's just another East Coast chase, which you've customized in a new place, and it's your own. You could
Awesome.
upload this as it is to the repository, and it would pass as a mod. Not particularly deep one, but I mean, it's creative. You've done your own thing, and it's it's on a theme. It's on a theme of vanilla content. I would appreciate it, and I would rate it well. Well, I wouldn't rate it well if you hadn't changed the text like this is currently. So let's do that.
Yeah. Well, let's not talk about rating it well. It still looks very, well, frankly, stolen. So,
but gameplay-wise, that's good. I mean, you don't need to do any more to it now. It runs. So
sure.
We just need to get it to look and sort of present as an individual.
Okay.
So if we close BeamNG again and then bring up the scenarios folder.
In the one that we did.
Your level.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
in your documents.
In my documents, East Coast USA scenarios. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then the HTML file bring up with Notepad++.
All right.
It's just there under 7-zip. Okay.
Oh, it was?
Yeah. It's just on. It usually is. It wasn't on the last one, but the Notepad++ does put it on your right-click menu nearly all the time. Right. So more code, and this is HTML code, obviously. So there's your title. I think that's highlighted. I think that's what the HL means. So you change that to 5, and then you can then write your own theme on each line of what you want it to be. I mean, you don't have to, but at least now it says something that it is East Coast Chase 5. Oh yeah, you'd want to change that.
Not the Barstow van, by the way. Okay, cool. All right. Oh, well, yeah. All right, anyway.
I mean, that's irrelevant. You can put that as what you would want. So, davidinark still hasn't fixed the internet. Brilliant. That's perfect. Okay, and you save that, and if you loaded now, it would say exactly that.
Okay. So...
and you'd also would want to make your thumbnail using the same method as we did to capture the level.
Okay.
Screenshot for your level earlier.
Sure. Okay. Now there was another message that was there that I didn't. Let's see. I'll look and see here. Where are we? Is that East Coast?
East Coast.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. There you go. davidinark doesn't fix the internet. Stop the Barstow. All right. So when I go though, shut up. When I go, like when I get through this checkpoint, it's still going to give me that weird error code, right? Yeah. So what?
Oh, that message. Sorry. Yeah, I'm with you now.
Oops.
So we just go back into the JSON file and actually put a message in, basically.
All right. So let me get out of that. So if I go back into the East Coast 5 chase JSON, whatever it says.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So how does that work?
All of this you don't actually need to have in actually saying a message at all. So let me try and explain basically what this code's saying. So your first few lines are your basic descriptions.
Okay.
And then you've got vehicles, and this is basically registering any vehicle in the scenario that's an actual BeamNG vehicle. I believe even if they're not being used, you still have to register them here. I did with this short story campaign I made or was working on. So here under vehicles, it then goes into a tree, and it's then listing the vehicles. You've got scenario, player 0, and speeder. And under each of the vehicles, you've got information about the driver, so whether it's a player or not, whether the scenario starts focused on them as if you were pressing tab, that kind of focus. So you could get it to start focus on the speeder, and you have to change. But I think you can stop it from being able to be changed as well. But then also where it says command, you've got the option there to get it to that is saying to start the light bar, so your police lights start flashing on at the beginning of the scenario. You can get it to also do other things like turn your headlights on for a nighttime event by default. Also the same with the AI. And then you've got the goal, which is basically determining how that player will win or lose.
Okay.
And also waypoint actions, which when you get to the goal of accomplishing a waypoint, waypoint number 1, it will then put a waypoint message, and then within those two sets of commas, what they are, semicolons. No, not semicolons. What are they bloody called? Speech marks. That's what we say in England.
The quotes? I don't know what
Quotes, yeah.
Okay.
The two
I'm like,
quotes.
I don't know. Okay.
That's determining what the message will be, basically. Anything between those. So if you delete everything between those quotes and type something half intelligent, like get after him, get in. Yeah, and that will say exactly that.
Okay.
So where it says goal and distance, that is where it says max distance. That's saying, I believe, the max distance you're allowed to be from him, and the distance enabled is how close you have to be to him to enable that max distance. So you could have it so that you had to find them first, and once you get in the range of 50, then after that, if you get any further than 200 away from them, you fail. And then you've got the message which is displayed if that happens. So that's still a bit of code. So you change that in those quotes to you let him get away, or you lost him, or you're rubbish. That's it. Yeah, perfect. You moron. And that is then target is saying it will do all of that under the distance from that player called Speeder.
Okay.
You could have it so it's under a different AI or different player. So then you got the waypoint action. We covered that, yeah. And then the same thing goes essentially for the other player, but in the relevant way for the opposition. So this is telling it doesn't want to be focused on. It's not the player, and the AI mode is set to flee. I mean, if you did want it to have any AI, you just wouldn't write that line. You just have nothing there. You could also have that set to chase or random or anything.
Sure. So if it was
any of the AI commands, the AI modes, I mean.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so if it were chase, then it's a reverse scenario, or what I would, so I mean, at that point, it's you're trying to get away from the cops type scenario, or whatever you want. So
yeah, and it won't work properly.
So in the chase scenarios, in the chase scenario packs that you've made, where yes, you can take out the bad guy, but that's not necessary. Or I say bad guy, you take out the AI player, you don't necessarily have to. So do you just set yours to random?
No, I still set it to flee.
Oh, okay.
Because then they still keep a coherent drive on the go. Otherwise, they drive real slow around corners.
Oh, that's true. Good point.
They're a lot less likely to crash, but it's still like you're out on a drive with a mate sort of thing. It's more like you're going for a spirited drive. That's the term.
I got you.
Otherwise, it's even more tedious than I say spirited drive in quotes.
I got you. Okay, cool.
But you could change the maximum distance to be like 5,000, so that it doesn't matter if you lose them, you can still have the opportunity to catch them and find them again, and not worry about, oh no, I've got a bit far away now, it's failed me and I've got to start all over again. I was really enjoying that one.
Right.
But it depends on how you would want it. I mean, if you were really enjoying a scenario that comes with the game and you wanted to change it, you could just extract it like this. Don't change any of the names and just change the max distance.
Sure.
So you can play it as you were, but it won't fail you if you get that little bit away that's annoying you.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay. Awesome.
So what we got else there? So where it says goal and speed for the speeder, it's basically telling it so it will fail and you will win, the player will win, if the minimum speed goes below 1.4 for more than 4 seconds. So minimum speed being 1.4, and max timeout is the maximum time that it has to be below there to time out.
Okay.
And then if that times out, you'll play that message. You took him down, and the purpose of it will be for a win for the player. I'm assuming
Cool.
that's what that is.
Sure.
I haven't fiddled with that too much. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
essentially what it is. And you got the lap config down there. That comes more into play with routes that you set out, sort of more go here, and you've got to follow these waypoints to get there. Under lap config, you then have a list that lists by putting the name of the waypoint in quotes and then a comma, and then the next name of the waypoint of the name of the next waypoint in quotes and then a comma, and then you'd list them that way all along within those brackets, and then that will be your lap
Okay.
or your route.
Right, and that's why there's only two here, because we have the one that we see and then the other one that we don't see.
Yeah, the one that you can't get to, which keeps the constant of the scenario. I believe that's the reason.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well,
there's probably a better way to do it now, because this is a very old scenario, being from one of the old levels.
well,
Years old.
and so those of you that are watching this, and you're kind of now maybe thinking about those kind of scenarios where you're, doing a race type scenario, or, a like a circuit, not circuit. What is it when you go from
Point
one
to point?
Yeah, point to point. What is it when you go from one point to the other? Gee, I don't know, Dave. How about point to point? Yeah, then you could, you could open up one that exists, take a look at the JSON, see how it looks, and then, modify that accordingly. But like we did over in the actual map itself, we just went in and we moved everything after we unpacked the prefab and then deleted that one line. We moved everything where we wanted, and when we repacked it, it made the prefab the way it's supposed to be. So to me anyway, it seems very easy to just basically use something that's existing for your own, purposes. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I made my own chase pack. It was just, why not make more of these great formulas that these guys are, they're busy making the game. They're just making demonstrations of stuff that's possible. I mean, I've seen people ask, when is it possible for us to make our own campaigns when there's already 2 in the game? It's like, dude, they're there to show you that you can make them. It's possible.
Right. You just have to put in the time and the effort and the learning to take what's already there and then make it into your own.
Just go into the content folder, load the level, Utah, and then go into campaigns, and then open the JSON and read it and just work out sort of how it goes. I mean, it takes a little bit of experience to get used to it.
Sure.
I'm sure for a lot of the viewers now looking at this, it's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But for me, I mean, at first it was, but now I can basically just see that that's bits that make up how it works. Essentially, it's not too difficult. It's a little intimidating because there's lots of things to worry about, like syntax, like making sure you've got commas and colons in the right place. But what we're doing is just using existing code. So as long as you haven't accidentally deleted something, then there shouldn't be an issue. And if you think you may have, you can just load another JSON folder from another scenario and just check against that syntax and just make sure you're not missing anything.
Yeah.
Might take a little while, but you can just start again. I mean, we're only modifying bits here and there, so it's not going to take long to do.
Exactly.
Same modifications again.
Okay, so let's say, for the sake of argument, I have this, East Coast Chase 5 scenario, and I do want to post this up for submission. In terms of packaging it, is that like a whole nother video, or is that a relatively simple process?
No, it's rubbish. I mean, it's sorry.
Okay.
I know Americans don't like that word, do they? Some Americans are like, oh, rubbish. It's garbage, man.
Yes. Well, no, it's not that. It's. I mean,
trash.
So are you implying that the process is a real pain, or like
I don't even know why I said it's rubbish.
Oh, okay.
I meant to say that's rubbish. No, it's not a long process whatsoever. Sorry, I'm knackered. I've had a very long day and a bit too much caffeine.
Well, it is late where you are, so.
Yeah.
So, for the sake of argument, let's say that I want to package this up. What do I do at this point?
So we just go to your mods folder under your BeamNG Drive documents folder, And if you haven't already got an unpacked folder, then make one. Just unpacked lowercase. This is where, if you haven't seen the earlier episode, where all your mods will be placed when you click unpack within the BeamNG mods menu. You unpack a mod, it will unpack them as they are in the zip file, just not zipped in this file. So we want to make a new file, a new folder, and this is going to be the mod name folder.
Okay, and so should it match, or I guess that doesn't matter?
It doesn't have to match, no, but this is what it would be called. This is what it would be associated with forever. They don't like it when you change the name of this folder when you upload an update.
Whoops. All right, so I'm just going to call it East Coast Chase 5, because why not?
I would use underscores rather than spaces.
Oh yeah, sorry. No, I wasn't thinking.
I think it helps with organization.
And it also helps with, and I have no idea if this has anything to do with it, but links and general file names when you're dealing with web services, they try to convert spaces to like %20, and a lot of that like wigs out a lot of file systems and everything else. So okay, so we'll use underscores. That works. All right.
Okay, so that's our mod folder. So we need to open that, and this is basically mimicking the content folder. So in here we would have our levels folder, our vehicles folder, our campaigns folder, as they are in the content folder, or the campaigns folder isn't in there, but yeah, so we need to make levels.
Okay.
And in there we don't need to make vehicles, we need to go into levels.
Oh, sorry.
If we were including vehicle configs or something, then we'd put them in vehicles and then under their named folder. So yeah, East underscore, yeah, you know the score.
East Coast USA, yeah.
Yeah. Or does he?
I know the underscore. I got you. Sorry, I was typing. I can't type and catch.
Oh yeah, we're not female.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. And then go in here.
You'd make scenarios folder in there.
Okay.
So we're just mimicking the structure of the game directory, even though we're not putting anything in any of these folders. It has to mimic the tree.
Okay.
Of the actual game directory. So we're just we're telling it to include these files within these folders as it loads the game.
Okay.
So in scenarios, you'd want to place all of those files for the scenario that we were just working with.
Okay, so at this point I need to go over here into my levels and East Coast USA and scenarios and grab these files.
You could actually have copied the levels folder.
I could have just
copied
the
East Coast USA, but yeah, either way it doesn't matter. So yeah, you want to put those in the scenarios folder you just made in your new mod folder,
and then go back to my mods folder, unpacked into my scenario name, and then of course levels, East Coast, scenarios, and paste those into that folder. Now, those of you watching along, like HighDef just said, once we created levels, we could have actually just grabbed East Coast USA and put it in and got around some of this. So there are some shortcuts you can take, but this is going to be kind of like math. We're going to show you the long, hard way to do that, and then tell you the easy way you could have done it.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
So
right now, if we load the level, it's going to load both versions, and it's going to come up with a red arrow in the top and say, "Oh, it's the same thing. I don't like it." So you want to go back to where we've got it from. Now we've saved it as a mod, and delete the East Coast folder from your levels folder because we don't need them in there anymore.
Okay, so I can just delete all that altogether since we've already moved it. All right.
Okay, and now if you load BeamNG.
So, and while this comes up, as we have been talking through some things, you may have seen me on the screen editing some of those message files. So now, when I bring this up and I type in East, it now, oh, no, because I didn't call it that. I called it, what did I call it?
Unofficial.
Oh, yes, thank you. I'm glad you're paying attention. So now it's called Unofficial Chase 5, which was stupid on my part, I see, but that's okay. But you also see that I changed the description over here on the right-hand side. I changed authors, just, messing around. But
awesome.
Okay, so so go ahead and open it or no?
No, if we go back.
Okay.
and we need to load the repository from the main menu.
Oh.
So just click back, yeah, and back again, and then the repository, and then click the mods tab on the top left. So this is everything in your mods folder. So we want to find the East Coast Chase 5.
This here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or no? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
And click once, and now this gives you the options to turn it on and off, to package it, or to just open the folder it's in. So we want to package it. Should be very quick, because it's just a couple of files. If it was a full level, it would take a little while longer, if it had all the assets for a level.
Sure.
And now if you go back to the mods folder.
Oh, okay.
That's it. And then go to mods, and you'll see it should be in there somewhere as a zip file.
East Coast Chase 5.
Yeah.
There it is,
And
right
now
there.
now you can go to the BeamNG forum and then start a new resource, and that would be the file you upload.